Live from Pacific Junction Hotel, Girth Radio.
Yo, welcome to my Summer Lair. I'm your host, Sammy Younan. Happy to have today Myles Anderson. Hello, how's it going?
Hello.
So you consider yourself a stand-up? Is that the title designation? Is that what's on your business card? Stand-up comedian?
Yeah, stand-up comedian works. Jokester.
Jokester? Okay.
Yeah, whatever works.
Sounds like a Batman villain from the 66 show. the Jokester?
The Jokester, yes.
Yeah, like they couldn't quite get the rights to him or something. So
the rip-off version.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool. You have a debut album, comedy album, Myles From Home.
Mm-hmm.
On 604 Records, and it has a really intense cover.
Yes.
There's a lot of things kind of going on with your cover.
It's pretty cool.
Describe for people, I know this is an audio show, but describe for people the cover, Myles From Home. What's going on in there? There's a lot of cool stuff there.
So the cover is designed to look like the Indiana Jones movie, kind of like old classic movie poster style. It's got me on the cover, posed like Indiana Jones. Behind me are all the characters from the jokes that I have in the album. Mm-hmm. It's got like a panda bear, Caligula. It's got the elevator driver man that I joke about. It's got my Honda Civic and a big mean wasp coming after me. It's got all sorts of stuff that has to do with the content in the album.
Mm-hmm. Based on the Indiana Jones type of cover, and you have like some of the joke titles, the bit titles are like X-Men Worst Class, The Winter Soldier.
Yes.
This album's kind of like nerd adjacent.
Yes, it definitely is nerd adjacent for sure.
Are you yourself like a nerd? Or is it like, because there are little references and things that you would pepper through, but I wouldn't necessarily call this like a nerdish album.
No. I think, I'm definitely like... if the word nerd is it's so broad now.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Nerd used to mean specific kinds of people, like maybe into comic books specifically, or into that kind of, or like Dungeons and Dragons and stuff like that, or Star Trek. Those like nerd tropes.
People go to conventions and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. I think nerd has become a positive word now that basically means you're deeply interested in certain things, you know? I mean, I am definitely like I love movies. Movies are pretty great. I wouldn't say I'm a movie nerd, though, because there's real movie nerds out there that would destroy me.
Yeah.
I love classical music. That was my training, and I definitely would say I'm a nerd in that. You can come at me with your classical music facts, and I'll square off.
All right.
Love history, too. Big history nerd.
That explains the Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones, yes. I also work in a museum, so it also goes with the theme that I belong in a museum. Yeah, but nerdy. It's nerdy for sure. It's a bit nerdy.
I mean, that also works, too, for comedy, because now, like you said, because nerd is a lot more bigger.
Yeah.
You can kind of drop these references in, and all, if not most of the audience will pick up on them, even though your audience is not necessarily nerdy.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think nerd is such a positive thing now. It basically means you can enjoy your passions and don't have to worry about violent alpha men calling you out. You can just have a happy, nice life.
The pendulum has swung now.
Yes, it is.
You went from like social pariah to social accepted.
Nerds are so powerful now.
Yeah.
They run all the tech companies. It's such a different world.
But how are the music nerds now? Are the music nerds accepted yet, or they're still like in the dark ages?
Classical music nerds are generally in their 70s and 80s. So I think they've always been around. Music nerds, I think, like a true music nerd appreciates all music. Like they love just music itself, and they like all the genres. I'd consider myself a music nerd. I'm just super interested in a lot of different kinds of music and what goes into music, and like the real technical aspects of where like rhythms come from and influence of different rhythms. And I think music is so interesting now because we're so exposed. You can hear all kinds of music. You can hear all of the world's music, all from your computer.
Yeah.
And so it's changing the way music, like the mainstream music is. It influences from different rhythms from like Southeast Asia and Latin America will find their way into, it's almost like what happened with jazz music before the internet, with just people meeting and playing together. So it's really, music is super interesting. It's easy to be a music nerd. There's so much stuff to learn and nerd out about for sure.
This album, it follows your career, your journey, right? Because it opens up with a little bit of piano, which you're playing.
Yeah.
And then it kind of goes into the jokes, which is your chart. That's how you kind of evolved, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Does playing music, like you mentioned, like the rhythms and stuff, is a very similar style to the way you tell a joke?
Rhythm is very important in joke telling. It's actually interesting. An old-timey show called the Smothers Brothers comedy show, I think it was in the 60s or 70s. They only hired writers who were musicians.
Oh, okay.
That's one of the reasons why Steve Martin was hired to write for them.
Banjo guy, yeah,
because they thought that only musicians could truly understand the rhythm of jokes, which I thought was interesting. And there's a lot of comedians who play instruments, but for sure you can sense like the timing of a joke is so important, so that you can tell like when the audience is laughing, you hear the rhythm of their laugh and how the crowd is kind of blending. And then you know exactly when to drop a punchline or like the next tag on the punchline perfectly, so you're not stepping on your own jokes, or making sure it comes fast enough that they understand it's a part of the previous thing. So it's a big part for sure. We've
seen also too like comedians like Bill Cosby, Dave Chappelle, who kind of like draw it out a little bit, like it's almost like jazz.
Yes.
Right, where it's like a longer story kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily funny throughout the whole thing, but once you get to the end of it, you're like, that's amazing.
Yeah. That's a kind of comedy that I think takes a lot of experience to be good at. Because you have to be a great, engaging storyteller, even when... I feel like that also comes about maybe when people are in front of a theater audience.
Yeah.
It's so different than a comedy club where people are eating and drinking. They don't know who you are. They don't care.
Yeah.
And you have to get to the jokes really
Make with
quickly.
the funny.
Yeah. And I think that, I'll work some sort of longer bits into my set, sort of in the middle. That's where I would put a long story. After you've had 15 minutes of tons of jokes, so now that they like you, you can then maybe take the liberty to tell a really long story, and they'll be on board because they trust you now. They're like, oh, we know he's funny, so there's going to be something funny eventually.
Yeah.
But
I guess you're getting good at reading that litmus test, right? Because like you said, when you come out, people are like, all right, I don't know who this guy is, all right? And so they sit back with their arms crossed.
Exactly, yes.
Make us laugh, clown.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And then so the first little 5 minutes, 10 minutes or so, you got to do the work, right? You gotta it's like a first date, right? You got to like, I'm a cool guy. I'm not creepy.
Oh, yeah. So hard. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Dates are the hardest set to do. It's the hardest comedy bit.
Right? Yeah. You kind of already know if you're going to get a second one or not, right?
Yeah. Flying in there. You got to do at least 17 jokes.
Yes. Dates would be a lot easier.
Now that you like me, here's a long story. It's the perfect date.
But dates would be a lot easier if they had that little red light, though. It's
that would be nice. Yeah. The girl could just like hit someone on the table, just give you the light. It's like, you got 2 minutes left.
Yeah.
I think we're done.
Yeah. We're not doing dessert. So
yeah, no, I think we're going to cut your mic.
Yeah.
I think we're going to go home.
That'd be a lot more clear. So in terms of music, though, a lot of people who do comedy, they obviously have a lot of like stand-up comic or comedian influences.
Yeah.
Do you have a lot of musical influences that kind of influence your comedy?
That's an interesting question.
Oh, thank you.
I think comedy is a lot more like jazz music than classical music, because classical is so scripted. You're following, and to a point, comedy is, but also jazz music, they're all following chord charts. I feel like it's more like chord charts, and you got to be able to improvise around the structure that's been created. But improvisation is so important, and reading a crowd and playing with an audience and playing off them is so important. And that's not really part of classical. I think classical music is more like a comedy movie would be more like classical music, where everything... There's room for nuance, there's room for expression, but if you follow it perfectly in the vision of the writer, then that's more how it would be compared. I don't have any specific influences, I don't think so, but to name my favorite jazz musician, I'd probably have to say Oscar Peterson. Oh yeah, he's great. Yeah, pretty cool being in Toronto, where Oscar Peterson roamed. Yeah, and I think. Before and around a show, I like to listen to jazz music. It's kind of gets me in the zone for sure. Yeah. Oscar, of course, I guess going back to the piano thing then, right? Yeah, Oscar's so amazing. He's my favorite pianist of all time, classical or jazz. He's just a magnificent player. It's too bad he's not with us anymore, but there's still lots of great musicians out there who play. I think Corey Henry's a great keyboard player. John Baptiste is great. He
Yeah.
plays with Colbert's band.
Yeah.
He's an amazing get for Colbert. He's got a great band. Also, yeah, Fallon, the Roots are so awesome too. It's pretty cool to have a great band like that on a show.
Yeah.
I'm definitely jealous. They get to hang out all the time.
This is a tangent. This has nothing to do with your album, but if you ever have a chance to go see the Colbert show in New York City, go.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot longer than what they actually tape. Like so the band will actually play.
Yeah.
Like it's actually like a mini concert and
Yeah.
they'll play between guests and breaks and things like that.
That's awesome. So you got to see them do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's
I was
so
just
cool.
in New York City a couple of weeks ago, and I got to a friend of mine's like, "You want to go see the Colbert show?" I'm like, "Oh, all right, let's go."
That's
and
awesome.
So, yeah, and so it's like you get a lot more entertainment, even though it's like free, right? Like,
Is it as cold as they say?
it is pretty cold in there. Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, because you're outside and it was summertime, it was July, right? So it's like, it's kind of warm, but then you don't want to like wear a jacket or something because
Yeah.
you're only there for like an hour and a half or so, and then you got to go out and it's like New York City at nighttime. So, but yeah, it's kind of neat. And I like what you're saying about jazz too, because like jazz, there is a lot more like improv, and it's a lot more connected to the community, right?
Definitely.
Like, and so sometimes like people will get up and start playing on the guitar or on the trumpet or something, and then you don't know where they're gonna go, but you gotta follow them.
Exactly.
And comedy can be like that too.
Totally.
Where, like you have your set jokes or kind of your topics that you want to talk about.
Yeah.
But if there's something wacky or the audience is kind of pushing you in a different direction.
And they take place in similar venues, like just basements.
Yes. No light, no hope.
Basement clubs with alcohol. Yeah, it's similar origins. Yeah.
We already touched upon this, but I want to flesh it out a little bit more. You made the transition from music to comedy.
Yeah.
Why'd you make that transition? I mean, both of them are just equally hard. Like you already kind of referenced that a little bit in the album too. Like why make the actual like leap?
Well, it was interesting because I grew up in a smaller town that didn't have any kind of comedy scene. And then when I moved to Victoria to do my music degree, I started doing comedy at night because I'd always been into theater and performing and stuff when I was going to high school. And I didn't really have an outlet for that in Victoria. So I was thinking about joining improv because I loved improv so much. But I tried to join improv groups, and they're like, you got to take a bunch of classes. And I was like, I'm not going to pay to perform.
Yeah.
And so stand-up comedy was totally free, and you could just do the open mic.
Yeah.
And so I started doing that. And then gradually, as I did more and more of that, while I was still studying music, I realized I was much better at that than I was at music. So it just seemed like the natural thing to just be like, listen, like there's never going to be money for me in classical music. I probably won't have a career. I won't be able to do this for a living. So I'm going to focus way more on comedy and try to make something of that. And I actually do teach piano lessons, and it's not bad. It's a pretty good gig for a comedian because I can cancel lessons for my students and just be like, listen, no lessons this week, and they'll be so happy.
Nobody wants to sit and do the scales.
They'll celebrate. Yay, okay, yeah. Don't come back.
Yes.
And then, I could do that, and then I can come back and teach again. So it's classical music has served me well doing that. And also, I mean, I play all the time. I mean, I love music. I'll always play it. I'll always learn it. I'll always be practicing, trying to get better. And I always go to concerts all the time and things like that. It's definitely a big part of my life, but comedy has sort of taken over as my main focus of a career at this point. And I think, just because it was just the way I just kept, other people were like, yeah, you should do comedy. People in classical music were like, you should do comedy.
It's a kind of passive-aggressive encouragement.
Yes.
They're kind of kind, but not really.
My piano teacher, comedy is something you should do.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, like you said, like with comedy, you get the results right away. Like if you tell a joke and people laugh, then you know the joke is good.
Yeah.
With like classical music, if you play something, people are like, I guess so.
Oh man, it's such delayed gratification. Yeah, because you practice for months preparing a huge program, and then you go and you play a recital, and you hope it goes well, and then that's it. Whereas in comedy, you always get you get that rush immediately of knowing it's good. Yeah.
And on this album, you have a producer.
Yeah.
Kevin Maher.
Yeah.
So how does a comedy producer work on a comedy album? Is this kind of going back to the music thing again, or is this what was the?
So he set up the sound equipment and recorded it, and I think he did the primary mixing on it as well, make sure the audio is good. He also approached me about doing an album, so he's a huge comedy fan, and so he kind of approaches people that he thinks are doing well and that he likes personally, and then pitches them to 604, and they decide who they're going to sign. So he's kind of like their kind of a scout who also, records comedy albums. He's done a lot of comedy albums in Vancouver for people. He just knows how to get the right sound. I mean, he's a musician himself, and he really knows a lot about getting a good sound. And so he's responsible for a lot of why the album sounds really good.
Yeah, I mean, Rick Rubin's worked with like Andrew Dice Clay, a couple other comics before, right? So, I mean, Rick Rubin's always primarily known for doing music stuff, Chili Peppers and things like that. So, it's kind of interesting to have somebody that skilled, kind of just like doing comedy, which is a lot more simple. There's not that many instruments. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, so much easier to record that than music for sure. It's funny actually when it was almost like the first music comedy crossover I can think of in recent time is Rory Scovel and Jack White.
Yes.
Jack White was like, Rory Scovel's amazing. His record, the Third Man Records, I think, was that he's like, I want to do a comedy album with you. And then they put it on vinyl, and that was awesome. And I think,
and you wouldn't normally think Jack White as being like a funny guy.
Yeah, you wouldn't think of it as a comedy fan. But there's a lot of like, secret comedy nerds who love hearing jokes and going through all. There's a big world of comedy to get into for sure.
Are you ever interested in exploring kind of like combining the comedy and music? Like you mentioned, the Smothers Brothers at the top, and like that's a huge genre in itself, Weird Al and things like that.
Yeah.
Like, is that something you would ever want to explore or sample in or dabble in?
Well, I actually did do a Christmas song, a funny Christmas song with my friend with 604 Records last year. It's a Christmas song for Scientologists called 1 Billion Years of Christmas.
Yes.
And that was pretty much the most musical comedy thing I've done. In my act on stage, sometimes if there's a piano on stage, I will for sure do something with the piano. It's just too hard not to. It's just irresistible. But a lot of the time, there's no pianos at comedy clubs. So they just don't know that I play the piano.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's kind of something that happens. I've thought about putting something together as a comedy music thing, but it hasn't really come to fruition yet. But there's definitely projects perhaps I might want to work on. Yeah.
And in terms of your writing structure, the way you write your material, the way you write your joke, does it flow out of your musical background, or is it kind of more free flowing and you just kind of like, if something works, you just kind of throw it together?
Well, I mean, it's funny how you develop as a comedian. The more shows you do, the more you have a sense of what is going to work. Like things you come up with will most likely work when you're kind of 5-6 years in. You sort of understand, okay, this is what's gonna work. So I mean, I definitely write premises, things that I think are funny, and I'll go to like an open mic where there's like 7 people and it's like a horrible room, and then I'll go and I'll say these things out loud and try to kind of see if there's something funny there, and then if there is, like, I'll write down a note of like what was good, and I'll just I'll kind of craft the joke in front of audiences. And then I'll add more and more and more notes to a premise until basically it's almost entirely like structured out to like almost entirely written out, but not word for word. Just every single little tiny point. And then I'll do that at like bigger clubs and make sure it's really tightened up. It's all about whittling it down. I'll usually start with a huge, long, rambling nonsense thing.
Like a drunk hobo or something?
Yeah, like just that. I'm just nonsense, and I'll whittle it down to like the part where they laughed, and then I'll make that part even shorter. I'll just shorten it right down until it's just, just the meat of it, just the funny stuff. And that's, that's hard to do because, I mean, there's so much demand on people to create so much content now and create so much material that a lot of the time people are trying to lengthen their jokes. They're trying to make it as long as possible and add more and more setup and things. But I always try to make the joke as fast as possible. So it's just dense. Lots of jokes.
Chris Rock does a lot of repeating of his lines.
Yeah, he has very distinctly does that, yeah.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, I think obviously if you took a lot of those repeats out, like, you know what I mean? Like the joke would literally be like just 5 minutes, but because he repeats the premise is like
that's so true
over and over, that it actually kind of like makes it a little longer. And in terms of that, in terms of reducing the material and in terms of selecting material, was it difficult to figure out what was going to be on the debut album? Because this is your introduction to the world, right?
Yeah. Well, there's certain things definitely I thought about. I wanted it to be as clean as I could make it. Like I wanted it to be like, 80, 90%, like sitcom clean, something that would play on 2.5 Men or
yes.
How I Met Your Mother or something like that. So that was, conscious. But I knew that I already had a lot of jokes that were like that. So it wasn't fun. Like there's definitely like jokes I used to do in the past that were way raunchier that I wouldn't do on the album. I also tried to not have too much like local reference stuff. That's important not to have on an album. Obviously, you want people to enjoy it all over the country and even the United States.
Yeah, Victoria is like a deep cut for like a lot of Americans.
Yeah, they would have no idea what Victoria is or why it is or how. So, I kind of try to talk about, I think I do mention that it's in the Pacific Northwest or something like that to try to give Americans like an idea of like, okay, he's talking about like, it's kind of like a rain place.
Yes. I've heard of Seattle.
Exactly. So yeah, those were definitely conscious things. It's hard. It's interesting because I really just started headlining comedy clubs like about a year ago, like just before I recorded the album, I started headlining. And so it's interesting now that I have more opportunities to headline, like the next album will be so different because I never had a chance to do that 45 minutes a lot, maybe a couple times. So I was kind of like, it's almost like two 20-minute sets, 22-minute sets combined, right? So I know that the next album, because I'll be headlining more, will be totally different. It'll probably have a different kind of rhythm to the whole thing, for sure. But yeah, definitely conscious decisions. You want to make the album appeal to as many people as possible, for sure.
You mentioned like you recently started headlining clubs and things like that. One of the places you've actually performed at is the Comedy Magic Club.
Yeah.
In Hermosa Beach. It's in LA. Yeah. For people who don't know, like that's a really cool place.
It's an amazing place.
Yeah, and it's kind of sacred. Like there's been a lot of really cool. I know people like for some of the standard clubs that people think of in the States and in Canada and Yuck Yucks and all that. But that's a really cool place. Can you just kind of just give us a little snapshot of your experience there?
Oh man, they treat comedians so amazingly there. They give you dinner. The green room is so cool. All the people there you're hanging out with are awesome. It's like they curate such good comedians there that there's so many times when you're hanging out in a green room and people are kind of like, they don't know how to hang out or they're kind of insecure and blah, blah, blah. And at the Comedy Magic Club, it's weird. Like you feel like you're at a family house and you're all, it's the best atmosphere. Also, it's like a museum. They've got so much like comedy memorabilia there. They've got like Charlie Chaplin stuff and like David Letterman memorabilia.
Wow.
And so that's just amazing to be in that historical place. Also, like the wall is just covered in signatures, like Jay Leno and Gary Shandling and all these great comics. It's super funny though because it's kind of not a huge mainstream thing now as it was in the old days because I feel like the Comedy Store's talked a lot about on big podcasts like Joe Rogan's podcast and stuff. So Comedy Store gets a lot of publicity right now. But the Comedy Magic Club amongst comedians is revered and everybody knows that it's a great place to do comedy. Yeah,
if anybody ever wants to see like a little snapshot of it, it's in the Jerry Seinfeld comedian documentary. There's a scene in there with, I think it was him, Chris Rock, and I think was it Jay Leno or somebody else?
Yeah.
Right?
Jay Leno, and then it's also in the Shandling documentary.
That's right,
The Zen Diaries, yeah. That green room it's hallowed.
Yeah. So, congratulations, the debut album, Myles From Home, is out now. So where do you go from here? What are your next, like, comedic goals?
My next comedic goals, well, I'd like to put another album out. I'd like to... come out here and perform more on the East Coast of Canada, out in Ontario and stuff like that, and book more gigs around here. And just sort of, just reach more of an audience, keep creating stuff. I think the next goal is another album. It's even better than this one. I think that's all I've got. That's all I got right now. I think I'm just trying to get one step at a time.
Yes.
Obviously. I don't want to be in. I want to be in the Avengers eventually, but I don't know. We'll see. The end goal is a superhero.
Everybody gets a solo movie before, right?
Well, no, that'll be in the Marvel sub comedy universe of just comedian superheroes who do like rom-coms, but they're all superheroes. Yes. I want to be in one of those. That's the end goal.
All right, that's good. Put it out there in the universe now. It's on the record, right? We'll see what happens now. I think that's how The Secret works. Where can people find you and see if you are going to end up in a Marvel movie? Where can people find you online?
I've got a website, MylesAndersonComedy.com. This is kind of like a hub for all my stuff, as well as they can follow me on Instagram at Myles.Banderson and Twitter at Myles_Anderson1. And those are pretty much the big online things right now. I haven't been on Facebook for a while because my parents are on there.
Oh, that's awkward. So thanks for coming in. The new album, the debut album, is Myles From Home. It's on 604 Records. And they actually have, like you mentioned, they have quite a bit of a comedy arm there.
Yeah,
So
they're really developing a lot of comics out in Vancouver.
Mm-hmm. So check it out. And I guess it's at the usual spots, right? iTunes, Amazon, Spotify.
Yeah, all the big ones.
Mm-hmm. All right, great. Thanks, Myles, for coming in and hanging out. We covered like jazz and classical music, and we eventually got to comedy, and then your secret desire to be on the Avengers.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good day.
Yeah, it's not bad. It's quite a few topics.
Yeah, thank you, Myles.
Thank you.
Yo, that was Myles Anderson visiting my Summer Lair. I am your host, Sammy Younan, and you can follow me on social media, and you could upvote or downvote my jokes. There's a reason why I'm doing this instead of stand-up comedy, though, clearly. And it is My Pal Sammy on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, My Pal Sammy. So thank you for listening. Jokes, yo.